republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We can remain standing and, as always, remember our men and women in the armed forces. And also remember a couple of local folks, Barbara Weissman, Marion Corbin, Patricia Dunlap, and Anne Marie Rose. Let the record, the minutes show time. I'll open up the public hearing on a local law to authorize the public tax levy in excess of the limit established by General Municipal Law 3-C. Elise, if you could just read that resolution, please.
Well, the resolution is for the adoption. This is the public hearing, so I would.
Oh, we'll wait. Okay, that's right. Any comments from the public on the proposed local law? Yes. Yes.
Hello, Olga Anderson, resident of Highland Falls. I would ask the board not to authorize going above the tax cap. The residents of this community have been hit very hard with the July storm. Some of them are spending tens of thousands of dollars of their own money to do repairs, to stabilize against future storms, and to increase their village taxes seems to me to be adding insult to injury. I would challenge the board to dig deep and see where you can cut the budget so we stay under the tax.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Michael Joyce, member of the village. I can't believe what's happening. I really can't after the statements that Trustee DeSalvo has made. You did say, DeSalvo, that the water is funded by itself, correct? It has its own fund.
Mr. Joyce, it's a public hearing.
Yeah, well, but
A public, yeah, what comments do you have on the proposal?
well, I want to make sure my statements are correct.
Well, go ahead.
So,
They usually-
so I'm asking.
No, that's not the way it works.
Okay. Well, anyway.
Yes or no? Yes, it is.
Public comment.
Okay, so Trustee DeSalvo.
This has nothing to do with water and sewer, just so the public knows.
No, it hasn't.
Same topic.
Trustee DeSalvo has said that the water is funded, it's got a fund, and it's solvent. He also said that about the sewer. Plenty of money, it's solvent. And then there's another kitty somewhere, I don't know, with, what, 100,000 in that kitty, or 200,000? And that's supposed to be solvent. So, why are we even thinking of putting another burden on the taxpayers of the village of Highland Falls when the tax base can't grow any bigger? It cannot grow any bigger. We are basically surrounded. The Hudson, Bear Mountain, West Point. I think without Mayor Denafio and his sidekick with all the figures,
Mike, we don't
Trustee
need, be an adult.
without,
Don't
I am.
You don't have to say that kind of
Let
stuff.
No, I
This is a
am, because
public
you two
hearing,
guys vote the
though.
same. You vote for it, he's gonna vote for it.
The public says whatever they want to say.
This is a public hearing,
This is a
yes.
public hearing.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
May I just point
Yes,
out,
please.
as parliamentarian,
Yes.
that this is a public hearing specific for the local law that's in front of the board, which
Yes.
is tax cap. It's not to insult the public, insult the board, make accusations. It is only about that. You have the floor, sir, if you simply confine your comments to the tax cap override local law.
He's getting there.
Oh, okay. What?
Let him
Don't
get
talk
there.
to me,
No,
talk to
I get
the
there.
board,
Okay.
and again,
So-
this is.
so-
Let him get there.
So,
That's
Mr.
enough.
Joyce
the
has the
lovely
floor,
lady,
not
the
Jan
lovely
Walker.
lady
Get there.
Board.
to my left,
Uh-huh.
who Mayor D'Onofrio hides behind,
Yes,
has
Correct.
somehow stated that everything I'm saying is false. And if you're long enough in the village, you know it to be true. You heard these words come out of Trustee DeSalvo's mouth numerous times, numerous times. There are people in this village who have gone through a very bad disaster. They are making choices between medicine, food, or having a roof over their heads. Now, besides these men here who are well solvent, who don't have to worry about a roof over their heads, or making drastic repairs to their house, or putting food on the table, like other people on fixed incomes. And they have no regard for these people. Yes, they'll run and, God forgive me, they'll look at the flag, because these people here are armchair warriors.
All right,
They never
when do I
served,
stop this? 'Cause this
they
is not
never
the-
will.
Public comments are limited to 3 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Yes. One second, no, he's coming, then you, Bob.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Ron Albert, resident of Highland Falls. I urge the board not to go over the tax cap limit. As said, a lot of people are wondering about the future, how much their tax rate is going to be. If you could at least come out with a guesstimate, an estimate of what this extra $6 million bond for storm damage, 25% that we're not getting from the state, how much that is going to affect the tax rate. I imagine that the water storm drain on Onadora is already figured in. But I think a range, if you could give the public, the residents, the taxpayers, a range of how much you're thinking about raising the tax rate. And I see that the governor made a budget. Is, in her budget, was there money for Highland Falls to cover the 25% that FEMA does not cover? If not, you know, figure that into your range of tax increase, please.
Of course. Good comments. Anyone else? You had your hand up.
Well, I was going to ask the same thing.
Oh, okay.
If we knew about how much it was, we probably could understand
Yeah,
without.
that, we, I,
What's an idea?
okay. Go ahead.
Unfortunately, because of the way the state has this law written, we have to do this first before we even enter into our budget process.
And what is the cap, 2%?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we've always honored, we've never gone over,
Never,
ever.
we've never done it.
We've never done this. This doesn't mean we're going over.
And it doesn't mean we're going over.
This is just a precaution.
I believe, Mr. Mayor, that you have done this in the past. This is
Yeah, I don't remember.
to
Yeah.
modify.
I don't think we have in the last decade.
I don't think so.
so Bobby, Ron, since they're answering your questions, I'll answer your questions, right? Okay, so what you want to know is if we were going to go over the tax cap before the flood, and my answer to you is yes, we were going to go over the tax cap before the flood because we had tripled our debt from just last year. We went from 3 million with an additional 3.4 million for Onadora and Cragston, which we haven't even been issued, okay, to now close to 15 million, okay, in debt. So we had tripled our debt before the flood. We were drowning in debt before the flood, okay? So for us to say to you that we are only increasing the tax cap because of the flood would be a lie. That would be a lie, okay? So if for some reason We got a lot of money from FEMA, we got a lot of money from the county or the state, and then we don't have to really borrow any more money, and we can stay under the tax cap, that would be great, okay? But I don't see how we're gonna do it without going over the tax cap. And trying to divide what it would have been before the flood and what it would have been after the flood, it's just so difficult.
Yeah, Bobby, no one, and just to correct, it's hard to keep up with it, but no one said that we were increasing because of the flood.
Right. I
Good.
That's what was just said, but
Very good.
no one said that.
Very good.
Okay, all right, yeah, someone, you, okay. Is there anyone else that have the public? Yeah, absolutely, okay.
Hello, my name is Pablo Gordillo. I'm seeing that they're trying to raise the taxes for the village. I feel for the older people, because I know a lot of them, and I'm trying to help them as much as I can, when I can. And the burden that is going to put on their lap to do this is terrible. I'm pretty sure that all of you, when you go to shop for your food, all right, you have an amount of money that you know how much you're going to spend. And you don't buy stuff that you cannot buy. You're going to have to try to figure it out what you can eat and how to survive. Therefore, you cannot go over that. That's what we're doing. But our people over here, it seems like they're not trying to accommodate us. And only just the easy way to do it is raise the tax. Of course. It's not their money. It's not. It's our money. Therefore, I don't think that it's happening. I mean, privatizing the water department, hiring some other police officer, and I'm not taking out of you on the police because we need you guys and you're doing a fantastic job, but it's still money that goes out. And that is one of the reasons that they're going to say, oh, well, we have to raise the taxes because we have to pay these guys. I don't know how we've been doing it for the last 20 years that you've been in power, but thanks to you, I think that we are where we are. And
Any more comments on the,
thank you.
thank you, I didn't think so. Is there anyone, yes?
I wanted to ask you.
Sure.
So, would we be, we're not the only village or town raising the taxes. So a lot of
The town just went through it.
Just.
No one, and by the way, no one went to that meeting, but that's okay. It's a different thing that,
If we went over, would we be privy to knowing what you have to cut out?
Absolutely.
oh my God, yeah, yeah.
And I mean, maybe
We haven't started yet.
there'd be another meeting to see what was not so relevant and then,
Oh, yeah.
so if because if we don't go over it, then we go under what's going to.
I'll answer that, Bobby, okay? From my perspective, we don't need to increase village taxes. We need to cut spending. I've said that repeatedly from day number one, okay? And I've been telling you there's a problem since day number one when I look at these books and when I look at this accounting, okay? And I've offered you repeatedly how to cut spending. I have, okay? You can just watch the village board meetings that's been going on for 3 years. I've been telling you how to cut spending, but if you don't want to believe me, you know what you can read? You can read the LaBerge Group and their 102-page study. Do you know who the LaBerge Group was? They were the group that this board handpicked to do the study on dissolution. And that group said to you, we can cut the village taxes by 29%. This is how you do it. They said it in a 102-page document. You can read it, okay? That's what they said. If you dissolve this board, okay, and just have one government board, which is the town, and consolidate all the services, you can cut your village taxes by 29%. And they outline it for you on how it's going to happen. They went to the town, they talked to these people, they talked to DPW, they talked to the street superintendent, they talked to water, they talked to sewer. They said, what would you do if we became one? And they told you what they would do. And then they said, okay, let me calculate what would happen if we actually did what everybody said they would do. A reduction in your village taxes by 29%. So this is the answer. You don't need to increase taxes. You need to cut spending. If you want to know how to do it, go back to that LaBerge Group study. A study that you paid for, $27,000. You paid for them to do that study. And they came up with a plan. But you know what happened to that plan? Because they didn't want to dissolve this board, the plan became, oh, it's not a plan. Don't vote for it. And you didn't. You didn't vote for it.
Okay,
But that's
anything else
the
on the
answer.
resolution, please?
One more.
Another lady.
Okay.
I just want to speak in agreement with everything that's been said already. I do think that we should not accept this and that we should be making efforts to decrease in our budget instead of just raising how much everyone's paying.
And we are. The budget hasn't even started yet. Department heads haven't even handed in the worksheets. It hasn't even started. But yes.
When does that start, the budgeting session?
We start in February, and then we have meetings in March. Yeah, it'll be notified, same as every year.
We have them here. Public. Okay, anyone else? Okay, would you read it, please? Would you read the resolution?
Well,
Or no, not yet.
close the public hearing.
And then we'll
go
do that?
into regular
Okay.
Okay,
session.
so we just keep hearing that this is gonna raise the taxes. I just wanna be totally clear, just like the town did, and they, were gonna do a 10% increase down there, and we all pay town taxes. This is just to go over the cap. We do not anticipate going over the cap. We do not anticipate going over the cap. But if we don't pass this and we have to, then we're really in trouble. So this is a precaution, and that's all it is. I just need everybody to be aware of that, okay? Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just a couple quick things. First of all, the village tax base did grow, so I don't know, that was a misnomer, by $3+ million from last year to this year.
We lost that totally.
Okay, so it went up 3 million plus.
Oh, we
Okay?
lost that.
Mike, you had your turn.
This is not
Thank
a
you.
tax
Thanks,
increase.
Phil. Thanks.
Tonight is not about a tax increase. It's legislation that New York State requires us to do in a certain time frame and certain structure, and that's the process. I don't like the process any more than you do. Last meeting, Mr. Joyce, you stood right up here and you said, you know, let's try not to point fingers at each other. You said that, verbatim.
Yes.
Well, I'm glad that didn't
Yeah.
last too long.
Well, no, because.
No, sir, you had your chance to
When
talk.
I
You can talk to
realized
public
that
comment
when
again, please.
older people
Please,
save
sir.
on.
No,
Please,
no,
sir.
don't
We're
use the
Please, sir.
police, don't use the
Yeah,
police
yeah, I
to
am.
be against
I
the
am.
public.
Okay?
No.
Not against the public, it's
No,
just
you're
a common
using the
sense.
police to actually subdue the
Please
public.
stop.
All right, he's
Don't
gonna
do
stop.
that.
Melanie,
Don't
relax.
do that.
Don't,
Don't use the
stop,
pu-
Melanie, don't
use the
escalate.
police to
Don't
subdue the
escalate it,
public.
please.
The public wants to
please,
speak.
don't escalate it,
This
Melanie,
is a public
please.
hearing.
Please.
Yeah, and there's a
This is a
form.
public
Okay.
hearing.
That's right.
Right.
But there's a form to it. So
You're
is it
attacking
rules?
I'm just
a
gonna
private
continue.
citizen.
I'm gonna
You
continue.
shouldn't do
I
that.
don't think that's right.
I'm gonna
Go ahead, Jim.
Just to answer another question from the resident, the $6 million that we keep talking about that was authorized, we have not taken all that money, all right? It was authorized. Some of the members of the board, not all of them, but some in particular, don't know the difference between authorized and actually taken, all right? Because you don't pay on what you don't pay on anything authorized, you only pay on what you draw. Just like a home equity line of credit. If you don't draw on it, you don't pay on it, okay? Ondero Water Park for storm water, which would affect the general fund, and the water lines would affect the water fund. All right, so keep that in mind. Just a point of information. Dissolution. Man, we keep talking about that.
Yes.
The community voted it 3-1 not to dissolve. Some members of the board got to get that in their head.
I got it.
If you just got your town and county bill, if you live in Fort Montgomery, you got about a 10% tax increase. If you live in the village, you got 2.7% tax increase. That's why they voted to go over the tax cap. if you haven't paid your taxes or you get them escrowed, take a look. 2.7 for village residents, and approximately, I think it was 9.57 for Fort Montgomery residents. So that's why they voted this way to do that. And like I said, I don't necessarily agree with the attorney. I think we haven't done it in a decade, if we did it at all.
You're correct. I was wrong.
It's okay. So again, tonight's not about raising taxes. If we don't do it now and we are a 0.5% over the tax cap, we would be in trouble with the controller's office. So you have to do it this way. And I appreciate when we have passionate residents or employees come up, and believe me, I hope we don't have to make this decision when we have to cut employees. Because that's where the most expense is in any budget in a municipal, is employees,
We own the employees.
okay?
You already did.
Excuse
We
me,
own the employees.
excuse me. That's where the biggest expense is, okay? So if we have to make budget cuts, it's gonna be across all the boards and all the departments. Just like Trustee Guerrero said, she has recommended to cut a whole department out, even though the public wanted to keep it. So it's a fine line we have to live in, and that's why this is a process. Again, nobody's voting for tonight for the budget. There's a long, drawn-out process that we have to go through for that. This is just the way the New York State requires us to do it for this particular piece of legislation. That's all I have to say about it.
Thank you.
All right.
Close the public hearing. I'm not sure what time it is.
7:22. Motion to close.
Motion?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carried. Would you read the resolution?
Okay, we're not quite there yet. You have, where is it on the agenda? Okay, I don't even see them. Okay. There should be an item on the agenda to adopt this local law.
Could you please speak up?
There
Okay,
should be an item on the agenda to adopt this local law. I'm not seeing that.
All right,
Okay.
all right, so,
Is it the board's pleasure to adopt this local law tonight?
yes.
Okay.
Oh, to
so-
vote on it anyway.
Yeah, to vote, to adopt or not to vote to adopt. Okay. So, I will read the resolution of adoption, and then it would need to be put in the form of a motion by one of the trustees. Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Highland Falls, New York, duly introduced a local law entitled authorizing the property tax levy in excess of the limit established by General Municipal Law 3-C on January 3rd, 2024. Whereas the village board held a duly noticed public hearing on said local law on January 17, 2024. Whereas the purpose of this local law is to authorize the village board to override the limit on the amount of real property taxes that may be levied by the village, and to further allow the village board to adopt a budget for the fiscal year commencing on June 1, 2024, that requires a real property tax levy in excess of the tax levy limit in accordance with general municipal law. Now therefore be it resolved that the above whereas paragraphs are incorporated herein by reference. The local law authorizing a property tax levy in excess of the limit established in General Municipal Law 3-C as attached hereto is Schedule A. Be and hereby is adopted as local law number 1 of 2024 by the Village of Highland Falls Village Board. The Village Board hereby directs the village clerk to take all steps necessary to process and file the said local law, which will be effective when filed with the Secretary of State. That needs to be put in the form of a motion by one person on the board.
Just a second.
Is someone moving?
No, just a second, please. All right, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
May I have roll call?
Trustee Guerrero?
No.
Trustee Ramus?
Yay.
Trustee Salva?
Yes.
Mayor DiMaggio?
Being the state gives us the format and the time frame to do this, and because we need this as a precaution only, I vote yes. Motion carries. Thank you. See you. Yeah, bring him up. Mr. Baker, come on over here, please.
So this is a real honor for me to present this award to one of the village's longest tenured employees. Mr. Baker has been a traffic control officer for the village of Highland Falls for the past 25 years. Every day he comes to work with positivity and ensures the safety of our community's children, no matter the weather. In fact, many of the parents who drop off their children each morning were children attending the school under his careful watch. Mr. Baker is a true fixture in this community, and his service is deeply appreciated by countless. On behalf of a grateful community and police department, we congratulate you and thank you for 25 great years of service.
You're out there on Mountain Avenue. This is a very nice award to give you, Alfonso Baker, in recognition and appreciation for your 25 years of dedicated service to the village of Highland Falls. Thank you for helping to keep our community safe. That's what it's all about. There you go. Likes to bring him home. Hasn't been out this late in a long time. Me either. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Congratulations.
God bless.
Oh my God, you're out there in all types of ways.
Oh, next on the agenda is public comment on agenda items.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Michael Joyce, member of the village community. Yes, I was very passionate today. Yes, I implore this board to acknowledge that there are frail people in our small community. You cannot raise taxes on these people. Whatever the reason. Again, choosing between medication or food, medication, a roof over your head. We all know there are people in our community that do this. There are people in other communities that do this. But let's not fuel their fear that it will happen in this community because of raising taxes. I implore this board. 3 tours of combat, I would get down on my knees and beg them not to consider this. Do not raise taxes on the very fragile part of our community, the old. Thank you.
Is it on that? I like go, even though that was not on an agenda item. You got an agenda item? Yeah, okay.
Olivia, village resident. I understand that you're trying to establish a more organized meeting with the public only making comments on agenda items, but I feel the need to reiterate my statement from last week, from last meeting, that we would benefit from a small portion of discussion, at least a small portion. As a board of elected officials, you are supposed to represent the public, and I'm not understanding how you're representing the public when you make no effort to gather our opinion on the decisions that you make. On tonight's agenda, you have this officer who's coming in at a full-time position at over $92,000 with an immediate promotion to provisional sergeant at a rate of over $104,000. And I'm in the position that I can't come up here and ask a question about this. That the town just hired a deputy police chief at a rate of just over $30,000. And I know that that's a part-time position, and granted, I don't know the detailed duties of each of these positions, but that's more than triple in salary difference. So I'm sure that you would be able to produce a reasonable response to me on this, and anyone else on any other matter, but you're taking away our only platform to have a public interaction with you. Even tonight, with the public meeting on this tax cap situation, you had over half of the room speak in opposition to what you were doing, and still that doesn't seem to hold any weight with the decisions that you make, what we actually bring in our opinions.
That's right. Yeah.
Just like now.
I agree.
Okay,
Yeah.
next on the agenda is to approve bills and claims for fiscal year 23-24. $382,156.39.
I'll make a motion to pay the bills and claims.
Motion by Jim. Jim, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jim Ramus. May I have roll call?
Trustee Guerrero?
No, I'm not gonna approve the claims because I don't trust the numbers. And the invoices, particularly when it comes to the FEMA projects and the costs. I've been excluded from essential discussions. I don't even know when the meetings are happening. I'm not being told. I'm not getting any emails about it. So it really affects my ability to support the approval of claims. So no, I'm not approving it.
Go ahead.
Trustee Ramos?
Yay.
Trustee DeSalvo?
I'm going to vote, but before I do, I'd like to make sure those comments are in the minutes, because we require the reimbursement from FEMA, so if we're not going to support the expenditure, that's a serious matter, but I will vote
There's a
yes.
very serious matter going on with FEMA, and I'm not going to put it out into the public tonight, but it's very, very serious. We're in jeopardy, and it's not good. Do you have those comments?
Yes.
You have them down?
Yes.
Okay. Did you vote, Jim?
Yes.
I'm next, right? I
Mayor
vote yes.
D'Onofrio?
Thank you so much. Could, you have, I know, I just asked you, you have those comments written?
I have them, yes.
Okay, because I would like to have them in.
They're
the-
recorded too, so.
Okay.
Okay.
Approved, we have, the next three things are minutes. Approved minutes that were taken on the 3rd of January, 2024. I know that, I think you have all these minutes in front of you. I know they were in the boxes down there, so could we approve the minutes unless someone has an issue?
That probably wasn't, which one was I not at?
The 3rd, January 3rd meeting.
Right, so if you could do them
Okay,
separate.
so
it'd be greatly
we'll do roll call and you abstain.
Thank you.
Can I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the minutes from the regular meeting, January 3rd.
May I have a second?
Second,
May I have roll call?
Trustee Guerrero?
yes.
Trustee Ramos?
Abstain.
Trustee DeSalvo?
Yes.
Mayor D'Onofrio?
Yes, motion carries, thank you. We had a meeting on November the 25th, we're going back on the calendar a little bit. It was a workshop for the comprehensive plan on November 25th, 2023.
Make a motion to approve the minutes for the comprehensive meeting on November 25th.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Trustee Guerrero?
I wasn't there, so I think that's the one I was
Abstain.
abstaining, yeah, I wasn't there.
Trustee Ramos?
Yay.
Trustee DeSalvo?
Yes.
Mayor Donofrio?
Yes, motion carries. Next, the third and last one is another special meeting, was a workshop on the comprehensive plan. Some of you folks that are here tonight were here December 30th, 2023.
Make a motion to approve the minutes for the comprehensive workshop that we had on December 30th, 2023.
Second,
Roll call.
Trustee Guerrero?
yes.
Trustee Ramos?
Yay.
Trustee DeSalvo?
Yes.
Mayor Donofrio?
Yes, thank you so much, motion carries. Okay, Lene, our clerk, and Luciana Brown, account clerk, down at the Village Hall, would like to attend an election training with the Board of Elections on Thursday, February 1, 2024, at 10 a.m. in Goshen.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second,
All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next, we have the appointment of Emmanuel Vasquez as a full-time police officer on a transfer from the Village of Goshen at the contractual step of grade 5, $92,349 effective the 22nd of January 2024. Also asking probation status be waived as he has already completed 18 months of probation in the Village of Highland Falls and completed his probationary status with the Village of Goshen per the recommendation of Chief Torpy.
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
May I have roll call?
Trustee Guerrero?
discussion. So, Sergeant Torpy, how big is that police department? How many police officers do we have? What if we add him on?
That'll put the full-time ranks up to 7 full-time officers and 6 part-time officers.
So a total of about, okay, of 13.
Yes.
13 police officers. Okay, I'm gonna abstain from voting because I can't see hiring another employee, not because I'm anti-police, which they want to make me as, even though I'm a 20-year Army veteran, okay? I'm gonna abstain because we just eliminated 3 full-time employees positions in the water department, okay? I know this is a general fund, in the water department because we wanna save money. So really, what we really need to look at is at the budget to see if we can afford to hire another employee. So
Well, the
that's
position-
all.
The position is budgeted, and we're in dire need of supervision.
So I got what you're saying, but we need to look at where we can cut spending. So it's just something that I can't vote yes on. But I'll abstain until I actually see what the budget looks like.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just to answer, maybe give a little information to Ms. Olivia's question. We are really seeking, as the chief said, supervision. So we have 3 sergeant positions open. 1 is currently filled with the promotion we had within. It's a little difficult trying to work with civil service and getting a list for sergeant. Anybody who's got family in law enforcement may know. So you can, this particular candidate used to actually work for the Village of Highland Falls. And when we were going through all the dissolution and the, getting rid of the PD and dissolving the PD and dissolving the village, we lost that talent. So luckily, we've gotten through all that in the short term, and we have an opportunity to bring the talent back. So we bring him back as an officer to put him in as provisional sergeant. The town just hired a person who actually is in the process of retiring from the city of Newburgh, and he gets capped at $30,000. Excuse me. So with his state retirement, he can only make X amount of dollars. So that's why they have that position at $30,000.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
Yes.
And a second.
And a second?
Yep.
Okay, so abstain, go ahead.
Okay, Trustee Ramos?
Yay.
Trustee DeSalvo?
Yes.
Mayor Donofrio?
I'm going to vote yes, but this gentleman used to be with us. He's exceptional. I'm glad that he came back. He left because of disillusionment, and he Excuse me, can I talk when I'm talking, you talk when you talk?
Yes.
Thank you. So he's exceptional. He's going to be, he's an asset. These folks know it, and we know it. So again, I vote yes. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is to approve, this is how good this guy is, and what he gave us, and what he gave Goshen. Emmanuel Vasquez, same gentleman, as a full-time police officer on the transfer from the village of Goshen to be promoted into the ranks of provisional sergeant at a contractual rate of $104,354 with 52-week probation, effective the 23rd of January, which is when he'll start 2024, per the recommendation of Chief Torti.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
May I have roll call?
Trustee Guerrero?
No.
Trustee Ramos?
Yay.
Trustee DeSalvo?
Yes.
Mayor D'Onofrio?
I hate prefacing my vote by saying things all the time, but tonight's exceptional. It's in the budget, correct?
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. Okay. I want to congratulate Ty King and all others that helped him put on the Martin Luther King March this past couple days ago on Monday. It seems like about 2 years ago, when, as I said, it was 30 years ago, that Mrs. Claiborne and Reverend Claiborne came to my office and asked could they start a march, could we do a march that year in January on his birthday. And so immediately I said yes, of course, and from that time, 30 years ago to now, it has developed into a very nice event. So thanks to all those that helped put that on. I want to congratulate the two new officers in the chamber. Dee, you hear that word, you hear that name a lot, she does a lot. She has a craft shop down here on South Main Street, just before the town hall. And Sally Dorch, president and vice president. And I want them to know that anything they need, the chamber's important, anything they need, don't hesitate to come to the village board, myself or any village trustee. I will let the town board talk about the fire that they had a couple of nights ago, but I want to say to the Fort Montgomery Fire Department, just like the Holland Falls Fire Department, you're the pride of the Hudson, and you did a great job. And to the two police officers who could have been so hurt, and that's all I'll say because it's a town, they're town employees more or less, and let the town praise them. I want to name, and I didn't know he was coming tonight, Eric Smith, our fire chief, sitting over here. Eric, what is your title in the city?
Battalion chief.
Battalion chief, I thought so, but I didn't want to say unless it was for sure. Battalion chief in New York City Fire Department. That's a big job. I want to name him our disaster preparedness coordinator. I will tell you that I know a couple of village employees, I know Jason knows this, for decades now, whenever there's a storm coming, it could be a heavy snowstorm, it could be an ice storm, it could be a blizzard, it could be a flood, it could be so many different things. I know the guys are probably tired of this, but I have pre-meetings, usually 2, before the date, within 1, 2, or 3 days before the date. And then we always do a post meeting to go over things that maybe we could do better. And there's always you know, every storm is different, every rainstorm is different, every flood is different, every blizzard is different. And so those are the things that we do, and we do them very well. I'm very proud of my department heads who take our meetings and go back to their men and women and make it work. So we did that this past week with the heavy rain that came. And it's interesting because we talked about when should we evacuate Lion Green? You know, it's a hard decision to make. And we batted it around, and we had said once it starts to splash up against the bridge down at Lion Green, it started to splash up against the bridge, we started to evacuate. It really, really worked. It really, really worked. We didn't have to evacuate many. One person actually came here. And by the way, here is now the recovery center. Recovery center, whatever we want to call it. Receiving center will be here. The lights will be turned on, there's heat, there's air conditioning. The village board has to work on getting a generator. If something had happened and the lights went out, we were prepared, because we knew, because of the meetings, we would move everyone maybe to the firehouse. Firehouse creates another couple little issues. There's not handicap bathrooms, but we would have made it work if the lights went out, the electricity went out. It didn't. I had been in constant contact with the County Emergency Management, Dominic Green. They had opened up the offices there. They had water rafts available for us on standby. They know that Highland Falls is prone to flooding, and so we were on the top of their list to stay in contact with, and they did. West Point Fire Department, the same thing. We have a great working relationship with all of these outfits that come here to take care of us. And at a moment's notice, I can kick any of this into gear. Spoke to Kurt Pond a couple of times. We did it at one of our meetings, we called it. Everyone worked together. We really worked together. Sally had opened up here. We had to get some cots and blankets, and we could store them in one of these rooms. I had a nice recap from Eric. I had asked for a recap. That's the post-storm. And there was a little issue with the dial-a-bus. But it was great because at our meeting during the day, we said if there's an issue with the dial-a-bus, what are we going to do? And these gentlemen, West Point Tours. Well, now you have to go ask West Point Tours, and it's a whole thing. Well, West Point Tours said yes. We had a little issue with the dial-a-bus. Who shows up? West Point Tours. For me, it was great. For me, it was great to see. I know Mr. Ramus was out somewhere during the heavy rains coming down. I was soaking wet. I'm walking with my cane, and it was 1:30 in the morning, and I run into this guy. He's soaking wet. But that's what we did. There's a new building manager over at Lion Green. I have his, obviously I have his name and his phone number. There's also 3 other people on his staff. I have that, and we'll start a folder for these kinds of issues and pull them out for every meeting. I believe, I was told by the police department, I could be off if more came in, but at the time I asked, it was 7 pump outs. You think you had more, Eric?
No, it's
About that? Okay. Again, this will be the reception center. Cots and blankets. Generator for the building, dial-a-bus, that's all the stuff I've already gone through. So, thank you. You know, I can hold a meeting, I can do that anytime. But you guys pull it all off. And I stand back there and watch it, it's great. Thank you to both of you guys and the men and the women of the departments.
Yes, okay, so mine's gonna be short. A couple of things you already mentioned. One is the MLK March that was also organized by Dee Moreno. Her name is getting thrown around a lot. She organized the 30th annual Martin Luther King Day event 2 days ago. She and Councilman Ty King, they put together an entire program to honor Dr. King, Mrs. Claiborne. I met her before, but she led the march, and she's in her 90s. She's a longtime resident. Her husband was one who organized the first MLK March 30 years ago, like he mentioned. The guest speaker was an Army retired colonel, and she was invited by Ty King. She really delivered a wonderful educational, historical, motivational speech, and reminded us what the day is about. It's really about equality, it's about social justice, and about having the courage to stand up, okay, against any kind of injustice. So it commemorates the fight for truth, the fight for equality. I was really glad to be part of it. Senator Skoufis was there, Assemblyman Ikas was there to show their support as usual, and it was very well attended, even though it was freezing cold outside. It lasted about 2 hours. So it was really cold. So thank you, Dee. Thank you, Councilman King, for organizing it. And Mr. Smith, Eric is a wonderful guy. I'm really glad to hear that he's going to be the village's emergency preparedness director. Is that what your title is? Is that what he's saying your title is?
Sounds good.
Okay, Councilman King actually organized and instituted at a town level a newly formed Town of Highlands Emergency Management Committee, and they performed extremely well, just like the village fire department and police department did at last week's flood and severe weather threat. Ty actually took it upon himself to organize a group of people in preparation for the impending flood and the water outages. And all that night, these people, to include Ty, and agencies were on high alert to help evacuate people. His emergency management committee collaborates with Kurt Hahn. He mentioned him. He's the Orange County Emergency Medical Services Director. The Town of Highlands Chief of Police, Fort Montgomery Fire Chief, the Town of Highlands Ambulance Corps, the Highway Superintendent, and even the school district leadership and the West Point Garrison leadership. Their main objective is to get a common operating picture. I think that's what we need. We need to be really organized when things like this happen. It's really an excellent use of government authority in helping the residents of Highland Falls and Fort Montgomery. This is what elected officials are supposed to do. We're supposed to think ahead and manage. So I thank Ty for putting this together and having a plan moving forward. And Eric, I hope you work together well with him, good guy, and for the safety of everybody in the community. Ann Molina, Center of Highland Falls. She wants me to remind everyone there's a senior games event at the Montgomery Senior Center on January 31st. There's going to be dancing, friendships, encouragement for a healthier year ahead. She also wants to remind you that there's a Hudson Valley Women's Association Appreciation Luncheon at the American Legion on February 10th at 11:30. The goal of this is for anybody to come in and bring somebody you appreciate and treat them to lunch. And it's $37 for lunch. Okay. Lastly, she wants everyone to know that there's a free community dinner at Holy Innocents, and it's going to be this Saturday, January 20th at 4 o'clock. Carla Burns, the warden of the Church of the Holy Innocents, welcomes everybody in the community for a complimentary dinner this Saturday at 4 o'clock. So get with me or Ann Molina so that we can get you signed up for any of the 3 events that I just mentioned. That's it.
Jimmy?
Sure. Just want to give you an update on the wastewater treatment plant. So the average volume in December was 1.2 million gallons a day. That's a lot. That's a lot that we're treating down there. But we did have a lot of precipitation. We had over 11 inches of rain. And with that being said, we got, there's some residents out there and business owners that still use their sump pumps and they pump it into the sewer cleanouts inside of their house. That only creates a problem at the plant and it costs us money to clean that. So if you have a sump pump, please just make sure it goes outside. Put it out onto the street, that's the best way to do it. I did see a lot of sump pumps out there pumping onto the street over our past storms. So, and I heard that, the fire department and everybody else is out there helping when their pumps are overwhelmed. All good stuff, we all work together, but if we can work together on not putting it into our sewers, that would be a big plus. The facility down there is meeting all its DEC permit limitations. Pump stations, I stopped at a couple of those and seen the guys working on them. They're all working and operating properly. Down there also, they got just a few guys, but they are able to take one of the guys and let them help out at the village street department. Everybody knows we had a lot of leaves out there. They were out there doing the best they could before the snows came. I think they did a great job. Just like to give them a pat on the back. Also down there, the processing building number 2, major cleanup. They were down there for over 10 days working on that. Also, some work on the pumps has been completed. They're still working, and it still continues on a couple other areas down there as long as they can get in there without getting pulled into other places. Also, the digester work continues, and hopefully that'll be done soon. Again, they just do general maintenance on all the other stuff down there. The guys are doing a great job. I mean, you can eat off the floor in the sewer department. That's saying something. So they're doing good down there. Speaking about Mr. Scoofus and Mr. Ekus, I called them before the snows came, after our last big rain, and it got cold that night. And on Mountain Avenue, we know we have a problem. Again, that is a state highway. We can't do anything on that state highway. I left messages, I asked them to please come down and see what's happening at the entrance of Mountain Avenue up at the top coming into the village. The water's coming across because they don't have the proper ditches in there, and it's freezing, causing a problem. God forbid we're gonna have an accident up there, and I hope that's not what it takes for them to get the DOT down here and address the ditch on that side of the road so it goes down and goes into the catch basins where it's supposed to. And it's havoc on one of the residents up there. So, again, I'll reach out one more time. I think we might have to do a postcard campaign. I know that worked in the past, and that might be what we need to do. Mountain Avenue, it's so dangerous. And one last thing, Mr. Mayor, just so the public knows, I was not elected to tell you about problems up here. I'm not going to tell you about problems. I'm trying to get them fixed. That's what I think you all elected me to do. So any of your concerns with problems out there, just call me and I'll try to get there as soon as possible and see what we can do to get them fixed. Thanks.
Yeah, a couple quick things. Echo the comments from the board members in regards to Martin Luther King Day. My 4-year-old wasn't feeling well, so I didn't get out. Although it was probably colder than it was last year, so I guess in hindsight, it was a good event. I did take a little drive with him and saw everybody still out there for a couple hours. Just a shout out to the DPW for the last 2 snowstorms. A couple of the crew members were either sick or out. So if they didn't get to your road quick enough or whatever it be, all in all, they did a pretty good job. I want to thank them for their efforts. Want to also talk about the rainstorm from a couple of weeks ago. And I had said this, might have been a meeting or 2. I understand when we get 10 inches of rain in a short amount of time, or we get 5 inches of rain in a short amount of time. But just in relation to Highland Brook, in reference to exactly what Trustee Ramus just said, when they redid the road up there, there's now a new culvert pipe, maybe the best way to say it, underneath the ground that I didn't even know was there, which is created from a stream that has been created coming down that little hill/mountain. I'm not exactly sure where that water comes from, obviously probably the ground or maybe surface, But that stream that's there now, brook, whatever you wanna call it, whatever classification, never was there before. So on top of getting water from 9W, on top of getting water from our normal reservoir and how it comes down, right? Starts up high, comes down. Now we're getting additional water from our neighbors. So whether they be the state or the federal government, all right? So I know we don't want to have this conversation, but we're going to have a conversation eventually, because even if we, we're applying for some grants to try to fix walls in the brook, and the amount of water just isn't able to be handled by that brook from different sources that we are now getting. And I understand it's very easy to try to push your problem, onto sometimes your neighbor's yard. You get a little leader extender, and now it's not leaking in your basement. It goes a little farther in the grass, and you hope it doesn't go in their house. But we are a little under siege, on both sides. So, I know we had talked about it during the flood when we were in this room, and we had representatives from West Point, and we had representatives from DOT, and we were all enthused at that time. We have to reinvigorate that, especially for those folks on Mountain Avenue, because as I said at the meeting or two ago, even on Storm King Mountain, since they paved, there's more spots now than there were before they paved, where water comes out of the ground and comes across the road, and there's accidents up there. Me being one of them this time last year. So I don't know if we're just putting blacktop over it and figuring out later, but we need to get the resources in our region, I think it's Region 8, and put those resources into infrastructure. So that's a big concern for me, and I know we're going to have to start those conversations eventually, and I know it's David and Goliath.
So, Jim, let me bring a couple of things up
And
today.
then I got one last thing.
Okay, this will be quick. Last week, I had a conference call with the governor's office on some issues, and this was one of them. One of them was the tributaries that are entering Highland Brook from the state and from the federal government. So everyone knows, the experts tell me 85. I'm going to use the number 80. 80% of the water in Highland Brook comes from the federal government and the state government. 80% of the water in Highland Brook does not belong to us. And it's causing tremendous amount of havoc on the homes from top to bottom. From down, all the way down to Wyatt Green and all the way down to Wyatt Terrace. So there's a meeting being set up. It's taken longer than I wanted 2 weeks ago. But there's a meeting being set up with the federal government and the state government and some other folks, the village engineer, on how we can control, how they can help us control the water. 80% of the water, think about that. That's a high number. It's not 50%, not 40%, it's 80. That's causing all the problems. The biggest problem we have, there's a lot of issues. Every community has issues, but it's Highland Brook, taking the walls down, taking backyards down, entering foundations. It's not good. So I can only tell you that it's being worked on. For me, it's the biggest issue that needs to be straightened out. Go ahead, Jim.
So just to thank, the Highland Falls Fire Department, Fort Montgomery, West Point, Orange County, HFPD, also Jeff Gathers in the ambulance corps who did show up. Yep. And Jeff in his other capacity, because actually the one individual that we ended up having to evacuate who was in a wheelchair, we couldn't get him on the ambulance. We couldn't get him on the ambulance, but then the dial-a-bus, the dial-a-bus who couldn't come, then West Point Tours came, and we tried to get the fella on the thing. He ended up going into the community room, which we got into creatively, into the community room at the location. So everything was okay, it was dry, but it was a good coalition of forces. So kudos to that. And it's a private business, so we thank them for sticking their neck out for a good Samaritan cause.
Thank you.
That was it. Yep.
Public comment? Yes.
Thanks. Ron Malachi again. I want to reiterate what Ms. Olivier said. More discussion with the board from the residents is a good thing. And, you know, you approved minutes here for the comprehensive plan, November, December. Those are open to the public, but there's no discussion.
I'm sorry, on the minutes?
You approved the minutes, but at the meetings, they were open to the public.
They
but
were workshops.
They were not, there was, no public comment was allowed.
They were workshops.
It was mentioned many times. Well, aren't the budget meetings the same way? Open to the public, but there's no public comment.
At workshops.
The workshops. So it seems as though there's a public comment on agenda items, approve the budget. Well, no one's seen the budget, no one has any input. There's a lot of people here who want to be involved and give input to the government here to help make our community better. And more involvement by the residents, the taxpayers, would help give you ideas. Because I've heard some ideas saying that this board has mentioned, like, well, I was over in that community, I couldn't believe how they do it over there. Well, you know what? You get public comment on how they do it over there from people who go around. And I'd like to also mention here that I appreciate Chief Torpe staying late. Can we get some statistics on the amount of crime that's going on in our village? You know, if there's so many arrests, well, how many were felonies? You know, not now, whenever you have
I
time.
can answer that, it's really simple.
You know, how many went on, what was the
Every month I
20,
prepare a
23
report for the board.
total
And
stats
we have
for
major
the year?
incidents, I do press releases.
You do press releases, where do we get those?
Newspaper? Online media?
Where?
Where? I mean, the liaison, the trustee liaison didn't report on anything.
Wait, Ron, I reported on last meeting.
Okay.
So, I mean, you know,
Well,
it's one report a month.
we're in 24, I mean, it'd be good to hear how much crime went on in all of 23. You know, if that's available.
You want a year-end report?
A year-end report,
All right,
or I
we'll work
just
that
want a
out.
report on December.
We can work that out.
And if you could do it a little bit better and say, well, there was 8 arrests, well, how many were felonies? Felonies are much
Sure.
different than,
It breaks it
and how
down.
many, you know,
Sure.
I mean,
Your
the one
report breaks it down.
thing that I do get from the local paper is how many gallons of gas and how many miles were driven. And I think a lot of residents want a little bit more than that.
Sure, no problem.
I
That's
think,
not-
Jason, I think a couple of meetings ago, Sharon Guy was here, she actually asked, Mr. D'Onofrio wasn't here, I think he was ill that time, and Jim was presiding. She asked, you know, can you tell us how many police calls have been done for, have been called in for Academy Motel? And I think you had said yes, and he asked you if you could give us that number. We still don't have that number, so if you can
Oh,
give
that
us.
wasn't last meeting,
Yeah.
that was like 2
A
years
couple
ago.
of meetings ago, I
Oh,
said,
no, that was a year
okay,
ago.
you really need to listen. I'm sorry about
A
it.
month ago.
I thought I bought it
Yeah,
and a whole year of that.
oh, you have the number? Or
I
or you
have-
foiled it?
He gave me the foil for the year.
Foil.
Yeah, so you foiled it.
Freedom of information.
Yes, that
Yeah, no,
that kind of
That's the foil
information
information.
is
Okay, is
good.
there anyone?
That's the
else?
process,
That's the way they
Bob.
need it.
Bob, that's the process, buddy.
Mr. Malachi?
Mr. Malachi?
Yes.
I have one thing.
What? No.
So, in the minutes from the meeting that you attended, a lot of people in this room attended when we were having a workshop on the comprehensive plan.
On the 30th, yeah, and you did take some public comments,
Yeah,
some
yeah.
people did speak
Yes,
up.
yes, sir, but on the 30th, we also suggested, and I just want to let everybody know, just not people in this room, everybody, that we asked that the public put their thoughts in writing and get them back to us. I don't know if anybody has yet, but if they can get them to us so we can digest them before the next meeting, it would be greatly appreciated.
And sharing the steering committee's notes would be good for the public to build upon.
Okay, yeah, I know, you were involved in that,
We're both.
Absolutely.
A lot of people
Anyone?
were here.
So is Olga, so is Mr. Dion.
Do you
Yeah.
have anything?
No, I was just gonna say, it's easy to FOIA and get it. You-
But I think it was
30 days.
asked at a public meeting, and I think that's the point that the public is making. They're taking time to be here, to be involved, to actually listen to us babble on, right? They're taking time to actually ask questions, and then they want an answer, you want an answer. So if it's at a meeting like that and you say, of course, we'll get it for you, well then, next meeting, it should be presented, right? Without you having to FOIA, right?
It wasn't something that I had to bring here, it was something that I wanted to know.
Correct.
It was easy to get. But maybe I'd like to tell you, if we're talking about the police, this village is the #2 safest village in the Hudson Valley. It's the number
Bobby, I didn't
one.
hear what you just said.
The village is the #2 safest town in the Hudson Valley. It's the #1 safest town in New York State. So they're doing something right. I'm sure that we got to give you.
Yeah, I'm glad also. It's costing a lot more.
Here's your
Okay,
statistic.
right, but to actually, there's, but you're implying that we're the #1 safe place because of a heavy police presence. That, it doesn't necessarily, we aren't a village of criminals, okay?
Heavy.
There are many factors that actually make this a safe place. It's not because the police is so heavy, it's the community engagement. There's Ann Molinas, the Sally Dorshes, the Di Morenos, Vision, the Olgas, all of those things are making us safe. So it would be wrong to say that we need to, but that we're safe because of one particular thing. That's all,
I
but I
went
agree with
further.
you. Okay.
And I did compare it to police in Cornwall, in Windsor, Mills Gate, all the surroundings. We have less police per capita,
And they have volunteers in those communities too.
and it happens to be.
That's right.
that.
Thank you so much.
And
I
I would-
don't mean, I'm not saying I'm an expert on it, but I guess people will ask me,
Sure.
And
you know, with the real estate.
I would
So
just like to add,
it is, that compliments them, and we should appreciate them.
Yeah, no, I'm not
Because
talking,
that is a
that's
lot,
the last
a
thing,
lot of
yes.
people. We're
right.
getting people coming out of those areas, loving to live here.
right.
Yes,
So-
I'm not anti-police, I
Thank you,
keep
Bobby.
saying that,
Thank you very
okay?
much.
And I just
But
wanna
I
echo-
think
I
if
just
you
wanna
can't
echo-
compare us to Newburgh. You
I just
really
want to
can't.
echo something
You
that,
cannot.
can look it up.
Yeah, you cannot compare the village of Highland Falls to Newburgh. You just cannot.
of course,
Right.
It's, yes, you can. If you do people and area,
demographic, sure, yeah.
and that's where the data comes from. It doesn't just come from, I'm gonna pick somebody that has 50 police.
It's not just population-based, it's crime rate-based. There are really many
That's-
variables that are
That's where the
included.
data comes from.
Yeah.
I would just like to echo what Ms. Fallon is saying. There is a big difference between public safety and having public safety in a community, and all those other folks you named, which make a community inviting. So all those events that go on, that they work in conjunction with government, whether it's town or village, they work in conjunction with town or village government. But public safety rests on the sole shoulders of the police department and other emergency services. So what Ms. Fallon is saying is that we're the #2 safest community in the county or the state, or #1 in the state, or whatever the statistics you mentioned, rests on the sole shoulders of public safety officers and those other emergency services. So those other folks that we named, all those other people that come to meetings and bring up things and help put on events, those help make it inviting here for folks that are here when they get here. So there is a different contrast.
One more. Please.
Michael Joyce, member of the village of Highland Falls. I would like to ride on Ron's coattails. If per month we did have stats of what the police are doing because of the economic situation that we're in. And now, because they voted in that, well, we're not gonna do it, but now they have the means to do it, I think it would ease the minds of a lot of taxpayers to see the actual breakdown per month that would justify the salaries of the police force. And believe me, I wore a uniform. God bless anybody that wears any uniform. Because they put it on, they don't know if they're going back at the end of the shift. Okay? When you're overseas, it's not a given that, or it's not a thing that you won't get hurt. It's more likely you are going to get hurt. So I commend these ladies and gentlemen that put the uniform on. But like I said, I think if we had a breakdown of what Ron was saying, that would back up the numbers in the police force and the money they're making with the overtime. I don't think the taxpayers in the village are out of line to ask that. As a matter of fact, it would reassure them that it's money well spent.
Can
Thank
we have a police blotter?
Sorry.
A weekly police blotter?
You know what?
On the
Yeah.
paper?
Can we just get one quick thing? So the mayor's talked about, speaking with the governor's office, and this is how things get done. That was last week. 2 days ago, the governor's office came out with a proposed plan that includes updating the state's stormwater design manual, including buyouts in flood vulnerable communities and covering costs for flood mitigation and improvements, and much more. They're talking about 95 miles of walls and levees. They're talking about launching and supercharging a green resiliency grant program. They're talking about, a lot of stuff that they know is a problem right now. And if anybody was at, and actually a lot of you were at the meeting, I talked about stormwater management. If we're gonna look at increasing buildings here, so that's one of the things that are in here as well. We can build all we want, but if we just create pervious areas or impervious areas, we're gonna have more flooding. So that's a right step. I'll be on top of that. And motion to.
No, wait, got one more thing.
One more?
I found the report I gave last meeting, so I did say it was a total of 806 calls. There was 1 felony arrest. Here's your breakdown, maybe for the paper too. 1 felony arrest, 5 misdemeanors, 3 violations. So 1 felony, 5 misdemeanors, 3 violations. Summons is issued. There were 46 total, 34 parking/meter tickets, 12 traffic.
Okay, one more.
Alina Olivia, village resident. I would like to just say that I do appreciate that the both of you did address tonight that the water coming through the town, what we're responsible to actually follow through and get rid of, and that more than half of it is not from our own area. So I do hope that there's a lot more investigation done with that because it's causing a lot of problems here in the village. Now, I also feel the need to comment on the decorum of this board, and this includes our parliamentarian. You're often argumentative and frankly disrespectful to each other and even to the public, and it's really disheartening to see so regularly. I do think that it's a contributor to the distrust between the board and the public, and I know that Melanie got a lot of flack for making that comment recently, but she's right. Mr. Mayor, you were charged and pled guilty to election fraud and theft, and then you didn't address it, and you've been asked to many times. And don't worry, I'm not going to ask because I know you're not going to answer.
That's okay.
But just so you know, you not saying anything about it says a lot.
Thank you. See ya. Oh.
Riverside
bring up a note again today, since we were talking about Matten Avenue having a serious water issue. That there is a serious water issue on Howood Lake Road, where I live, and that road is 100% village responsibility. The water coming to my house is 100% from the village. So when you guys meet and talk about Mountain Avenue, please don't forget about me. We still have an issue, and I would like it to be resolved.
That'd be to the new water department to take.
Mountain Avenue.
It's a DPW problem.
I agree, I agree
It's
with,
not water, Pablo.
yeah, I agree with what you're saying. Mountain Avenue, Mountain Avenue will be addressed with state. You don't want, that's not state. You-
No, this is a village issue that
Right,
needs to be
right,
addressed.
right. Correct. Okay.
Has there been any further discussion around it? 'Cause I mean, you guys had 4 months.
I know we've been down, I know we, meaning myself, our engineer, other folks that work with the engineer, a lot of times. So I don't,
I think we
I'll
can't
find out.
establish that it's the village, so
Yeah.
I don't wanna,
You guys had 4 months to, at bare minimum, put some asphalt around the 2 catch basins, and nothing was done.
I just want to back her up.
It's not water.
If she's saying that it's village water, that means that the water been tested and it have chlorine.
It's not water. Department runoff. It's
she's
runoff.
talking about
She say about
runoff.
village.
She's talking about something totally different.
Totally
Is that village
Totally
water?
different.
I thought that's what
Thank
she said.
Thank
oh,
you.
yeah, flood.
Okay, because if it's village water. then
Motion to
it's
adjourn.
Yeah, I have a motion to adjourn. Do I
I
have a
agree.
second?
Sorry, one vote.
Yes.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you so much.
Good, speak up.